Good evening and welcome to Pembroke City Council Finance Administration Committee meeting for March 4th. First, we'd like to read the land acknowledgement. As we gather today, I would respectfully acknowledge, on behalf of Council and the community, that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. Call the meeting to order. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda? Motion by Councillor Plummer, seconded Councillor Frenier. Those in favor? Carried. Approval of minutes from the Finance Administration Committee meeting January 7th. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Giacono. Those in favor? Carried. Approval of the minutes of the Finance Administration Committee budget meetings, December 10th, 11th of 2024, and January 6th, 14th, and 27th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Frenier, seconded by Councillor Keel, Those in favor? Carried. Any business from those minutes? Seeing none. We have three delegations tonight. Our first one is Karthi Rajamani, CEO of the Pembroke Public Library, Librarian of the Year Award for Ontario. Karthi, could you come forward and I'll introduce the awards, and then we'll have you speak for a few minutes, and we'll take a photo with myself and the mayor. The library received two recent awards at the Ontario Library Association Conference in Toronto. One of them is the library was awarded the Angus Mowat Award of Excellence. It recognizes best practices and a commitment to excellence in the delivery of public library service. These services need not be new and may be ongoing. This award was presented to the Pembroke Public Library in January, following its county-wide Around the World in 90 Days Reading Challenge, a 3-month-long collaboration event designed to promote multicultural awareness and literacy within Renfrew and Loudoun County. It did so by encouraging readers to explore a wide variety of cultures and perspectives and seek out books written about or taking place in different countries around the world. The next award, the OLBA W.J. Robertson Medallion of Public Librarian of the Year Award, recognizes a public librarian who has demonstrated outstanding leadership in the advancement of public library service in Ontario. This award was presented to Karthi Rajamani this past January in honor of her 20-plus years as an integral member of the Pembroke Public Library, where she has demonstrated outstanding leadership, ushered in a wide variety of innovative and engaging programming, advanced the library through meaningful community engagement, and shown its steadfast dedication to promoting literacy, inclusion, and access to information for all. Welcome, Karthi.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to share a few words. And I was thrilled to receive W.J. Robertson Medallion of Public Librarian of the Year award in January. This was a dream came true for any librarian. But I can say proudly, I am the colored first person to receive this award. Yes. Library, thank you. And thank you very much for City of Pembroke Council and my hiring committee and my board supporting me for all these years. Without my staff and all the members I mentioned, without all of them, I would not have achieved what I achieved today. And libraries are so much more than just a building filled with books. They are vibrant places for learning, connecting, and empowering one another. From the very beginning of my career in the public library world, I felt I was part of something much greater, a mission to help people on their journey to spark curiosity and creativity, and also to create stronger, more inclusive communities. As a first-generation immigrant, and a person of color, my journey has had its unique challenges, especially working in rural Ontario. It has not always been easy, but it has been profoundly rewarding. I was full of tears when I received the message that I was selected for this. I have seen how libraries can transform lives, helping someone find job, access vital resources and information, or simply feel sense of belonging. Libraries are places where everyone matters, no matter their background or their circumstances. This award really represents the amazing teamwork and support from so many wonderful people I had the pleasure of working with over the years. It is a testament to the mentors, colleagues, and library staff who have guided, inspired, and stood by me. And most of all, it's about the community members who trusted the library with their stories and dreams. They are at the heart of everything we do at the library. I want to express my heartfelt thanks to my hiring committee who trusted a person of color can do something for the community, and my staff, my board members for their constant and continuous support, as well as the member of City Council. And I don't have words to express how much you all mean to me, supporting the library every day in the library's life. I could not have done without you all. Thank you very much for supporting the library and advocating for the library. Thank you. I truly appreciate all your support and help. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is the award
Just give it-
given to me. Yeah.
So does any member of council have a comment? Yes, Councillor Giacono.
I was going to confer to the chair here. You're the chairman. I'll speak later. Go ahead, Mr. Chair. If you,
Well, you can
I
speak
can
and
if you
I'll-
want me.
I'll
I
speak
just
before
I
we do the
want to.
photo.
You know, Karthi, I never looked at you as a person of color. Never. I always looked at you as a human being, and you're most deserving of that award. And I can understand how you feel. And you know, this small community, Pembroke, you know, has some wonderful people in it, and you're probably one of the most outstanding. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Lafreniere.
Just briefly, you know, I think you're great, but a real sign of a great leader, and no wonder you're so successful, is acknowledging your team. And you just spent most of your speech, you know, praising everyone else who works with you. So that is a true acknowledgement of your leadership and your success. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a comment from Councillor Purcell and then the mayor and then myself before I take the photo.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations, Karthi. Well-deserved recognition for not only you, but also the entire library. You know, your dedicated efforts and passion for DEI and as well as, you know, community and making sure that, you know, people are looked after. And I know that you direct people to multitude of services, not only library services, but services within our local community. So you truly are a champion, and you've really moved the bar when it comes to, you know, a librarian at the Pembroke Library, that's for sure. So we're just grateful to have you, and we look forward to your continued success moving the library programs forward. So congratulations, well-deserved reward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Troy Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to sincerely congratulate you on your accomplishment. I know that over the years, you would always say, I don't expect anything more of staff than I expect of myself. you're a true leader in the sense that you ensure that whatever it is that you're asking of your staff, that you are willing to put in 110% just like them, that you lead by example. And I know that you are the reason why the multicultural event came to Pembroke. Yes, I understand, and if we went back and forth all night, you would say that, yes, well, I have a supportive staff and they make this possible and so forth. But again, that just speaks to the personality that you have. But really, it's due to your commitment. I know that in the past, any discussions we've ever had is we could do this, we can do that, and you were always thinking about different ideas. Even whenever you're at home, I can tell from the emails that you're working later on at night, and it just speaks volumes as to who you are. So congratulations. There's nothing that I could possibly express in terms of the what it is that you do for the community. And you've hit it on the head that the library isn't just a repository for books. It's all the different services, and you ensure that there is English as a second language, that you're welcoming to newcomers. It just goes on and on. So just congratulations, Carthy.
Thank you, Mayor Gervais.
So Carter, this is my second term on the library board, and you're a very determined person. You get things done. And the Angus Mote Award speaks highly of the tireless dedication of the staff and yourself to create a cultural hub. And as an educator, I've never seen so much programming in the library, and so much innovative programming, from STEM workshops to language lessons to art lessons to cooking with Carthy Regimani lessons, So it's just so beautiful. And I had one, just want to read a line I had from the library asked me to give a quote for the press release. Carthy's contributions have enriched countless lives and made our library a cornerstone of community engagement. So thank you once again. If you could come forward, I'd like to take a photo with yourself and myself and the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to welcome Dan Callahan and some of the board members of the Pembroke Candy Bus. Welcome, Dan.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing us to come and give you a presentation on the handy bus. I'm joined with probably the most important lady at the Pembroke Handy Bus, Margaret Rand. Margaret is our senior driver. She's been with us over 30 years now. She's known affectionately by our clients as Maggie. I call her Margaret, but everybody else, it's Maggie. I'm just going to give a brief rundown on what it is we do and how we got there, and Margaret is going to talk about how we provide this personalized service. I know some of you have sat on our board, so you have an understanding of what it is we do, but I wanted to share it again and share it with the public that might be listening in tonight. So if I may, I'll start. The Pembroke and Laurentian Valley Handy Bus is operated by the Friends of the Disabled Pembroke. We are a not-for-profit charitable organization, and we have been since its inception 36 years ago. The organization and service came to life in 1989 when a number of prominent individuals in our community stepped forward. And these people in the initial board were Jim Sheedy, James Fraser, you're not going to know most of these people, Gloria Kavanaugh, Elwood Fraser, Ruth Grant, Dr. Cornelius Martens, Scott Taylor, Martin Van Bavel, Eric Work, and Pierre Motion. These visionaries saw the need to provide affordable, caring, professional transportation for our elderly and those with a physical or intellectual disability in our communities. They wanted to ensure that these fine people were provided with the ability to go about their daily lives without the worry of transportation, and we are proud and honored to continue that work they started so many years ago. And I just want to touch upon that. I was on the way over here and I thought, how easy it is for us in our life. Every day we want to go do something, we hop in our car or away we go. It's not a problem for us to walk into the bank, carry a package, get up that step or that little lip that is a mountain to people with disabilities. And that's what this service was all about, is that so these people can go and do the things that we just automatically do and do it with dignity. And that's what we have provided all these years. Our mission has been and will continue to be to provide a caring, affordable, and professional, on-time, doorstep-to-doorstep service. At the Handy Bus, we don't see our clients as transportation statistics, but as individuals that we treat as friends and family, and we wouldn't have it any other way. We've become very close with our clientele. They'll tell the drivers things that they probably wouldn't tell other people, everything that's going on in their life. Almost to the point where if we notice that Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so is a little off, we'll reach out to a family member and say, you know what, you should go and check up on them. Margaret has on occasion, we've called and asked the hospital or members of the medical community to go over and do a wellness check on clients. And we've recently had a person where we asked them to do that and the person was on the floor. So that's the service we provide. It's a professional, caring service. Our current board members are our chairperson, City of Pembroke Mayor Ron Gervais. Ron has been on our board for, I think, close to 20 years now. We have our secretary is Laurentian Valley Township Councillor Wendy Hewitt. She couldn't be here this evening as she is at a council meeting in her township. We have our vice chair, Marcel Manta. Marcel's been with us for a number of years. I think he's an active member in our community. Our treasurer, Clayton Lenzer. Clayton's been with us for a number of years, and he is an active member in our community. Our director, Christine Reevy, who wanted to be here this evening, but she's got that flu bug that's going around and getting everybody. And director, Faye Casista. And Faye works for Victim Services, and I understand that she had a call out tonight, or she would have been here. Now, over the years, we have traveled hundreds of thousands of kilometers and safely transported tens of thousands of elderly and disabled individuals. And I keep saying elderly because it's more than just people with disabilities. We do the elderly ride on our service. What do? Well, we've provided transportation. This is quite a long list, but just to give you an idea, because it's all things that we do in our regular day. Medical appointments, dental appointments, physiotherapy, cancer treatments, shopping trips. You've probably seen us at Remembrance Day services. We go to weddings, we go to anniversaries, we go to baptisms. We even take people to the Pembroke Library. Sunday church services, memorial and gravesite services, and I'll touch on that a bit. Our drivers will go and they will take the individual, it might be in a wheelchair or just somebody with a walker or an elderly, and they will go into the funeral home with them. They will help them. We on not a lot of occasions, but we will take them out to the gravesite. We will wait for them, and while that loved one is being a memorial service. So that's part of the service.
Actually, we've been in the funeral procession too.
Yes,
We've taken important family members and ridden right, like I've probably 10 times ridden right behind with like
The hearse.
a wife, husband, an important family member that couldn't ride in the limo. So I've been in, quite a few funeral processions.
Thanks, Margaret. We take special needs clients to their school programs. We take people to Alzheimer's Day programs. We do retirement residence outings. A number of the retirement homes use us, and we take the residents out. We take people swimming. We take people to sporting events. We have gone to Lumber Kings games. And recently, we're bringing seniors, young and old, to attend programs at the Fit and Feisty Club out in Stafford.
Yeah.
So we cover it all. And I'm going to turn it over to Margaret. She's an amazing member of our team, and she'll tell you about how it is we do that service.
So I've been with the Handy Bus since the early 90s. I started out as a co-op student. And one of our drivers went on to mat leave, and I moved into her driving position for a year. And it just went up from there. Like Dan said, yes, we've done lots of transportation for, I would say, children as young as 3 and 4 years old, taking them to school. I've had ladies over 100 taking them to hair appointments. Like I said, I've done funeral processions, weddings, anniversaries, baptisms, family reunions. We take, like Dan said, the senior residents go out. We do 3 senior residence homes that we take out weekly shopping. That's usually the mall, Walmart, Giant Tiger, Winners, medical appointments, funerals. We do a little bit of everything. We make sure we pick them up at their door, help them out, and we make sure we get them back into the home with their parcels. Like Dan had said earlier, yeah, I did find a couple of people on the floor. I've had to reach out to paramedics. I've had to reach out to family members. Yeah, it's just all part of my job. I've had, actually, I think a couple of our customers have been with us since we've started. I think I've got about 4 that have been taking the bus since 1989 that are still taking it today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's being, she's not quite telling you all that they do. They do it in all the weather conditions.
Yes.
Pushing people in wheelchairs around, getting them up that stairs, even cleaning off that step so that the client can get out the door. That's what your handy bus does, and it's what it was designed to do. In 1989, those people that I talked about, that's the service they saw. It's not just simply a bus, it's a personalized service. I'm looking at the deputy mayor, your mother, we take her out quite a bit. And she gets to go out, and she gets helped to the door. Just to finalize, we currently utilize 3 vehicles. We have a 2019 ProMaster, a 2024 ProMaster, and a 2013 Ford bus. All these vehicles are equipped to handle anybody that needs, they're for accessible transportation. They can handle wheelchairs, walkers, Brody chairs, big electric chairs, any of those things, they can be handled. In 2024, we provided over 7,300 trips and traveled over to 44,000 kilometers in the city and Laurentian Valley. We have 3 full-time staff. Margaret is one of the drivers. Nora Johnson is our other senior driver. We have 2 casuals, plus myself, working the office and getting behind the wheel occasionally. We are charging, as I say, we're a not-for-profit organization, a charitable organization. Has been around since 1989, serving this city and Laurentian Valley. We receive funds from the city, and we're very appreciative of that. As we do as well, we receive funds from Laurentian Valley Township. We do raise funds, as we are a charitable organization. Last year, we raised in excess of $53,000 in our budget just through donations and fundraising events, and that's been the model ever since. We do also receive gas tax money and revenues. We charge $7 anywhere in the city of Pembroke for that service, and it is a door-to-door. You phone us, we come. It's not an answering service you're calling. You're going to talk to a real person. We ask for 24 hours notice, but we do get calls to, could you pick me up in a couple of hours? For instance, seniors. They want to get in, and the doctor will say, we've had a cancellation, can you get in here in a couple of hours? And we'll shuffle it around and we will get them there. Someone asked me, well, how do they get back? Do they make a booking to return? They can. We found through experience, particularly with medical appointments, you can go in to see the doctor at your appointments at 2:00, and they're hoping to be there for 45 minutes. Well, you get there and the doctor's running an hour behind. So what we've done is all the medical professions, they have our phone number. So we don't want the client stressing out that I've got to be back to catch that bus at 3:00. No, you'll have the doctor give us a call or the nurse give us a call, and we will come and get you. So it's the convenience of that. I talked about the fare, $7. From this revenue, we have to operate it, and we have to put money aside to purchase vehicles. That's a big expense. There used to be, a number of years ago, the province had what they called bus replacement money. And they did away with that a number of years ago. So all your money that comes for operations has to run the operation and put money aside for the next vehicle. As you know, we entered into an agreement last year with the city. We were able to get grants through the province and through the feds, and we entered into a lease agreement for that latest ProMaster that we have. So we're very appreciative of that. The only other thing I'd like to raise, I know that you're looking at a transit system, and I know that you see us as the accessible transit system in the city. My concern, the concern of the board, is under AODA regulations, there's under the province, when a municipality runs a conventional transit service and sets a fee, the specialized transit service fee cannot be any more than the fee that is set for that conventional transit service. So what that means is that we charge $7, and if you had a conventional service, and I know that you're going to be putting it out to a committee and come up with a fee, if that fee comes in considerably less than ours, then we must match it, which will put us in a position of we either have to ask the city for additional funding, or we have to raise more money through fundraising, which is we do as much as we can, or we look at staff reductions. So again, we're very, very happy to work in partnership with the city. We've had a great working relationship. My only concern is that when the time comes to set that fare for your new transit system, keep in mind that it will affect a charitable organization that's been around since 1989. And thank you.
Madam Clerk, how many minutes do we have left? 1 minute 25. Well, thank you very much for coming. The handy bus is a truly valued service, and I know the council will always support it. My mom loves it. She always talks about it. Are there any?
She's cute.
Yeah. She turned 92 February 16th. Any quick questions or comments, Councillor Frenier?
Just a comment. I have no intention on supporting anything that's going to jeopardize the handy bus, because as you explained, it's a Cadillac if for certain seniors that need help. So I want that message to go loud and clear to the committee that's going to be looking at fares, that we need to really be mindful of that. We are not competing with ourselves, because let's face it, handy bus is part of Pembroke, and we fund it. So I want that to be loud and clear, and I know I have to make it quick, so I'm done. Thank you.
We have Councillor Keel.
That regulation you've talked of, that applies to other accessible things run by the municipality. You're a third-party organization. We don't run you, we don't control you. So can you speak to why that would apply? Because my understanding is I think our buses themselves are going to be AODA compliant. So can you speak to that?
Thank you, Councillor Keel. I checked the regulation, and the way it, and I don't have it in front of me here right now, but the way it reads is that if a municipality has a conventional, two different companies are running a conventional transit service, and another company is running a specialized transit service, we are obliged to charge the same fee. I don't have the reg in front of me. My board has seen it. That's our concern. I mean, if you can get a legal opinion and it's different than that, then certainly it's not a concern. But reading the regulation as we did and the wording, and it said two companies running a conventional and a subsidized service or a specialized service, the fare has to be the same as the conventional service.
Well, I don't think it would be for us to get the legal opinion. I think it would be for the handy bus to get the legal opinion, but I think that's something that should be looked into.
Just one last, Councilor Purcell, quickly, you go ahead.
Certainly, and I know that as the chair of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, I think it's one of those things that we're going to have some discussion in regards to is how they're going to coexist in terms of the two services. So I did speak to the deputy mayor and said that that would be something I think that would be valuable for the Accessibility Advisory Committee to look at and provide report back to the to council in regards to any concerns that they may have in regards to the operations. If you just talking about the 7,300 trips per year, so if it was $1 reduction in fare from $7 to $6, it'd be $7,300. So a $2 reduction would be $14,600. That would impact the handy bus. So I think there's some discussion there that we can have in regards to how that works and also interpret that legislation. I did see that legislation as well. I do think it may be applicable, but again, I didn't do a deep dive. So that's something, again, the advisory committee would take a look at. Thank you.
Well, in closing, speaking on behalf of myself, the handy bus is an essential service. And I know there's mechanisms in the budget for different shortfalls. When we need the handy bus, it'll always be around. The transit's a 3-year pilot. People are positive about it. We have to work together. So you're very valued, and we want to thank you, Dan, under your leadership, and the board, and the volunteers, and the drivers. So the handy bus, as far as, in my opinion, will always be around. And as far as the Trans Committee meets in April, and you and the mayor sit on it, and then there's also different mechanisms in the budget for shortfalls. Council fully supports the handy bus. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association annual budget and presentation. We have Melissa Marcotte. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
It's County of Brantford Economic Development Manager, and Stephanie Van Wick, OVTA Board of Directors Chair. And then we have Jason Davis in the gallery, the Director of Property and Development. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. I think Sean's pulling up the presentation. So again, thank you for having us. We're here to provide our annual update and seek approval for our 2025 draft budget.
And we have some highlights to go over because we're a highlight.
Next slide, please. And next slide. There we go.
So this is a quick overview of our numbers as we are. So we have an increase of 13% in our membership from last year. Our membership is free, and we're sitting at 328 tourism businesses as members of the OVTA. And there are 44 members from Pembroke, which is 22% over last year. There's like a wonderful pie graph that splits up into categories. So attractions, events, and outfitters and guides make up our biggest portion at 30%. Second is the accommodator, so anyone that hosts folks overnight. And we have suppliers at 9, retail artists and artisans at 9, again 2. So municipal and community partners and BIAs are 21% of our membership, and food and beverages, the people that feed us, are 13%. Yeah, some cool numbers here. So Facebook group, we have just for members has 155, and we have subscribers to our newsletter, which also went up over last year. So this is a specific initiative that's ongoing of the OVTA. So it's called the Route Champlain. So this specifically is marketing for French travelers, either coming from Quebec specifically, or France, or any other French-speaking region. Also could be Ontario French speakers. And it's to trace the route of Samuel de Champlain. So as we know, he came through this area. There's a whole bunch of really cool areas that are specific to Pembroke, of course. So with the Heritage Museum, the Upper Ottawa Heritage Museum used to be known as the Champlain Museum, is in Pembroke and is part of that route. And a whole bunch of other members are on that route as well. And we were featured in a Quebec magazine.
So just to highlight some of our marketing initiatives for last year, one of the big campaigns that we did was a partnership with the Ontario Culinary Tourism Association, and that was the Do Something Delicious campaign. So we hosted them to the Ottawa Valley last year, as well as to Pembroke, and that was to gather content through a number of our culinary destinations and businesses, and then highlighting those across socials and digital advertising throughout the region. So, of course, McGuire's Donuts were featured, Nomado Tacos, a number of other culinary restaurants, and it was a really great campaign, and that is actually being continued into the first quarter of 2025 also. But you'll see just on the slide the number of impressions, the interactions, the click-throughs, the blog views, the reel views that we had, and it was a very successful campaign on our part, and those are just the numbers from 2024, so that will increase for 2025. We also undertook some municipal photo shoots in partnership with our municipalities. We did one here in Pembroke as well, and that's always a good opportunity just to update our digital assets and with new updated photos and visuals that we can use to market the region. Our Tap and Cork route, which is our self-guided route that follows a number of locations on the Ottawa Valley side and as well on the Pontiac side in Quebec. So we did a revamp of that website last year to spruce that up and bring that up to date. And that features a number of attractions, like I said, on both sides of the river. Next slide, please. And continuing on, so we were very pleased to come on as a sponsor and promotional partner for the Multicultural Festival this year, working with Carthy and her team. So we had a number of reels and Instagram promotions and digital marketing promotions that went out to encourage that. And we also came on as a exhibiting partner at the Pembroke Community Expo. We're the ones that bring the big green chair that people like to take their photos in. And I understand that we've got that lined up to bring it back this year. And we usually try to bring some props and create a bit of a selfie station for people to take photos and stuff like that. It's always interesting to see how many kids we can pile into that big green chair. And then, of course, we produce the Ottawa Valley Road and Cycling Maps. So the cycling map is produced on a 2-year schedule. So that was revamped and reprinted last year, which will carry us over into 2025. And our roadmap was distributed to all residents in Renfrew County, as well as through our channels with our visitor information centers, including the Holiday Inn, the Best Western Pembroke, and the Upper Ottawa Heritage Museum here in Pembroke. And then lastly, another couple of opportunities that we did to specific to Pembroke is we worked with the Best Western and some downtown businesses to develop some stay and play packages and promoted those out on Instagram. And we also came on as a promotional partner for Multilicious program, which was promoting a number of our restaurants and things like that over June and July. And again, we had some really great results from that campaign also, with a reach of over 10,000 and almost 20,000 impressions.
And speaking of, I don't have to go that close, sorry. Speaking of impressions, yeah, we try our best to use social media because we find it quite effective and also very affordable. So these are some numbers. We are seeing increases in both of our platforms, are on these two platforms, which is really exciting. And speaking as one of the business owner members, sharing and like of the OVTA has really benefited us too. So some 2025 initiatives. So new marketing partnerships. We're always looking to work with groups and marketing. You were going to take marketing partnerships.
That's okay, you're doing
Okay,
a great
great.
job.
I'm doing a great job. Thanks. The Ottawa Valley Tourism Conference and AGM has been an annual, and the Tourism Awards has been an annual event. Last year, we received feedback after polling everyone who came that they found that it was like too big of a day to commit to. So we do want to split it up to make it more accessible to more people because, you know, people who are working full time and maybe have two separate events to gather more humans. So we're going to do our Tourism Awards and AGM April 29th as kind of an evening event actually scheduled at the Neat Cafe, which I'm very excited about. And then the conference, which will be early May.
September.
Early September?
Yeah,
We're going to split
September.
it up.
Yeah, we're splitting it
Totally
up.
split it up.
Yeah.
We're going to bookend the summer.
So we are also continuing, like I mentioned previously, the Do Something Delicious campaign. We've applied for a community development grant with the CFDC to be able to expand that, and we're going to be hearing about that later on this week, so that will kick off. And then, of course, we're very excited to get rolling on the municipal accommodation tax here for the city, and working with Elijah and his team on rolling that out later on, and starting the planning and getting stakeholders together and starting chatting about what that plan is going to look like for 2026. And that's the lovely team that does all the great, fantastic things that promotes Pembroke and the Ottawa Valley to the region. And I will end it with there. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Well, thank you very much.
budget.
Questions and comments? I have Councillor Keel and the Mayor.
So, with respect to the mat tax, do we have a sense yet about what you are doing with the fairly significant amount of money that I think we are expecting to come from that? I forget what the number is. I was hoping it was going to come to me. But I believe we're expecting over 200,000 in total. I'm getting a thumbs up from Elijah. I don't know if that's good or if he means higher. So obviously the OVTA is getting over $100,000, half of the overall mat tax. I'm just wondering if you could tell us if we have a plan for that yet, if it will involve any sponsorships or whatnot. I know we here at council get a number of groups that come to us for assistance with events. Buskerfest is coming to mind as one that last year I think beat all successful predictions in terms of, I think, again, if the number is, I think it was 6,000 plus people at Buskerfest. I'm getting I like Elijah sitting at the back. This is great for me. So I'm just wondering, like, will some of that money, my understanding, all the money is supposed to be used in a way that helps and promotes Pembroke. But I guess specifically, is there going to be some money to help put on these events?
So thank you for the question. And just to clarify, the projected total revenues for the city is close to 400,000. So the OVTA would be receiving half of that. So we're looking at approximately 200,000, and that is highlighted in our draft 2025 budget that's been provided to you for approval tonight. With the agreement that we've signed with the city, there are some deliverables within that agreement that we are to deliver on using some of those MAT funds. We haven't started the planning yet. We had committed in our conversation with the staff, we would be starting that as of June this summer, and working with a number of accommodators and business, tourism businesses from Pembroke, and helping to shape that plan and having their input into that. We are, one of the deliverables in the agreement was to develop a bit of a funding program where businesses could apply to receive funding and money to help enhance their business or do other things. So that's one of the things that we'll be looking at for sure to develop. But we don't have any other full details yet at this time.
Buskerfest sounds awesome.
Like I said, we're going to be beginning that in June. Yep.
Thank you. Mayor Gervais, then Councillor Jacquinot, then Councillor Frenier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. Very impressed with the increase in members for Pembroke, over 22% over 2023. I know that some time ago you had mentioned earlier about membership became free. Where my question is coming from is I know that the City of Pembroke Economic Development is doing business retention and expansion, so asking lots of different questions, you know, but why? Why are you here? What do you like about Pembroke? Like trying to drill down. I know when I talk to different business owners, it's not to be obnoxious or anything. It's to try and drill down as to why are they here, making sure that they stay here. Do they have any issues while they're here, and how can we attract other businesses here? So where I'm going at it is, and perhaps there isn't an answer to it, but in 2024, why? So why is the membership going up for Pembroke? Is there something that you can put your finger to based upon, and I realize it might be anecdotal, like you're talking to different businesses and so forth, but I'm kind of curious as to perhaps different business owners said something to you, that's why they're joining the OVTA, more than just they like the great work that you do, but is there some specifics so that someone can hang their hat on it and duplicate that?
So there's a couple of reasons for the membership increase over the last year. Number one is the main reason is the MAT. So a number of years ago when we were having conversations around the county, around the municipal accommodation tax, for those around the table, they may recall those conversations didn't prove to be very positive. There was a number of accommodators that built a case to oppose the tax. And as a result, we lost a number of accommodation members as a result of that. And so we've been working to bring them back on board. And as a result of Pembroke implementing the municipal accommodation tax, we wanted to make sure that all of the accommodators in Pembroke were back as a member of the OVTA. So the staff have done direct outreach to get, I think we've pretty much have every single accommodator now in the city back on as a member of the OVTA. And then the other increase is just an organically done as new businesses pop up from here to there. We're always in touch with the tourism and economic development teams at our municipalities, so we're aware when new businesses come into play, and then we put those into our recruitment efforts to reach out to them to say, hey, we want you to join our tourism family.
Councillor Jacquino, then Councillor Lafreniere.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I noticed your brochure on bicycle paths, et cetera. I always have the habit, if I see a stranger in the community and I'm sort of wandering around, I'll stop and ask them, you know, why they're here, where they're going. I've met 4 bicycle individuals that were coming from the city of Ottawa, and they had got onto our website and probably linked to you guys as well. And they were staying, I was just, you know, querying them for information, 2 nights in a motel. So there's 4 people, 2 nights in a motel. They were eating out. They also had small little coolers. They were spending 3 nights at Riverside Park, and they wanted to see the area. And part of the reason was that, you know, this the Algonquin Trail or the bicycle trail or whatever was a big highlight for them. Another individual I met at our waterfront, I hate to be repetitive, was a young student from Osaka, Japan, who was traveling from Vancouver to Montreal to catch his plane to go back, believe it or not. And he wanted to stop here because of the website. He saw the website. He wanted to see, and I met him. He was at our waterfront, and I saw him on a bicycle. I knew he was a stranger, and we spoke. So obviously, tourism, the largest industry in the world. Tourism, you know, more dollars are spent in tourism than anything else. Car manufacturing, whatever you want to talk about, tourism is it. And we have to attract our share, and I think with the MAT tax, we'll be able to do that. But we're spending lots of that tax money in all kinds of different initiatives. I hope there's enough to go around. So anyway, thank you for presentation. Thank you.
Councillor Lafreniere.
Yes, thank you. I guess what I really want to make sure is, I know that Elijah works closely with the committee that council has appointed, and he's going to work closely with you. I don't want to see duplication. I know there was a mention of grants, but I think that's probably going to be happening out of the local pocket of money. So I just want to make sure, you know, there's no come to the city for a micro grant and then go to your committee for a micro grant. So, because it's really one pot, you know. So that's one thing I just want to make sure. And I'm hoping that the money that is going to be, that you're going to be managing for us and allocating to different projects is going to be more for things like increased advertising of our events and what we offer, specific to Pembroke, rather than our shared dollars that go to the OVT as a whole. to also things that maybe accommodate tourists, cyclists, bike stands, some capital things like that. Maybe a summer ambassador, or we don't have an information booth. We had one in downtown, but maybe something to establish a little more meat in that. So I'm hoping that those are the types of things that that portion is going to go to. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And yes, there's so many opportunities of what we could do with these dollars. And I just want to clarify that yes, they will be spent on promoting Pembroke. That's the purpose of those dollars. The plan will be industry fed and industry led. So we'll be working with local partners and businesses in the Pembroke community to help build that plan. So if there are things that they would like to see and that makes sense and it works within the confines of the program, then we will probably deliver on it. But until we get to that point and start chatting with them, yeah.
So sorry, through you to Elijah, and you, any plans to how it's going to be used would come back to committee, such as, yes, I'm getting a thumbs up, so that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right, eh? Well, in closing, I just want to say thank you for coming, and this is another great example of community partnerships. I've always said what's good for, Killaloo, Whitewater, LV, Lawrence Valley, the county is good for Pembroke because we all work together. It's all one big community. They all end up on the jewel, the Pembroke waterfront. So that's a good thing. So thank you very much. Thank you. Next, we welcome Elijah. A number of items tonight. Ottawa Valley Tourist Association annual budget.
That one is erroneously in there, so we can move
Skip
to the next.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, so item B, municipal accommodation tax, municipal funds location.
All right, thank you, everyone. So evidently a hot topic tonight. We are looking here at a recommendation that the Finance and Administration Committee adopt a MAT municipal funds allocation policy that would guide the usage of incoming MAT revenues and ensure that those investments align with both the city's tourism and economic development priorities as well as the overarching strategic plans for the municipality. So as we look at this, of course, it's important to note that the 4% MAT on transient stays went into effect on January 1st. So we've been collecting that over the past 2 months now and are seeing positive results to this point. And a lack of negative feedback as well, which was the concern from some of the accommodators. So we are happy to see that and have provided them with as many resources as we can to try and combat some of that as well throughout this. It is important to note, though, as we look at this proposed policy that's come forward from the Tourism and Culture Advisory Committee, we are looking just at that municipal 50% as opposed to that OVTA 50% that we were referring to with the previous delegation. So under the provincial legislation, that 50% is available to be spent at municipal discretion. That can go to anything at any time that the municipality decides. That can be banked or can be used within the annual year. At this point, though, the Pembroke Tourism and Culture Advisory Committee did bring forward some concerns that I think I've heard echoed around this table, that in this year's budget process and throughout other council meetings, it has appeared evident that this money is getting spent several times over versus what's actually there in that pot. And so they recognized potentially a need for some kind of policy to responsibly disperse that, we're keeping track of what's coming in, allocating that in a feasible way, that it goes in a strategic manner to what we're looking to fund. So within that department, or within that committee rather, they did want to propose this policy which does look at keeping that municipal portion of funds within tourism or tourism adjacent projects. As we looked at when we looked at implementing this last year, there is no set rhyme or reason from one municipality to another. Each one seems to do something different with that municipal portion. Our neighbors in Petawawa have committed that that full 100% is going to tourism. But on our side, we do want to look at this from a place where this doesn't necessarily handcuff us to one thing, but allows us to still be open and flexible while keeping those funds in areas that will keep those who are doing this work for us happy and aligned with our priorities moving forward as well. So those key funding priorities that that committee came forward with, which are explored a little further in the draft policy, are tourism marketing, microgrants supporting operators and events, tourism infrastructure and public spaces, recreation facilities impacting visitors, staffing for tourism initiatives, as well as enhancement of existing tourism offerings. And what they really did want to stress again and again was keeping this flexible so that we can continue to adapt this and rework it as we learn more throughout this process. Because really, I think year by year, we're going to learn more and more in terms of what people are looking for from a tourism perspective and what we are actually getting to work with based on the revenues coming through and what visitors are looking for in addition to our operators. So at this point, we've kept this draft policy a little loose so that there is room for us to structure it down the line as we learn a little more. We could look at, say, putting percentages into those categories to allow for, just throwing out numbers, something like 20% annually is being put into marketing, 20 into staffing, 20 into a reserve for facilities, and then a good chunk of money as well being put aside for future reserves when we look to things like the bicentennial in 2028 or other major projects coming forward that this could be used to prepare for. Furthermore, they did recommend that just to clean this up as much as possible, that a staff member at the city be assigned the responsibility of actually managing that disbursement in accordance with this policy, with those allocations then reviewed during budget season each year and subject to council approval and direction to make sure that that was still following through on priorities and plans for the municipality. So we did look at some potential alternatives here. The first would be to essentially disregard this entirely and spend the 50% of those municipal funds on whatever council would like to put that into. The committee did emphasize that putting these two projects unrelated to tourism could lead to industry backlash, particularly from those hotel owners and managers, and would reduce trust from them moving forward as well, and could lead to some public backlash. We did look as well at what some other municipalities have done, and that's a full allocation to that eligible tourism entity, in our case the OVTA, and giving them 100% of the proceeds to do as they wish. Staff doesn't recommend that because I think it's better for us to maintain the flexibility in our dollars where we can, and keep that ability to put things where possible at the municipal level. And the other alternative really would be to say no to a policy and essentially keep doing what we've been doing over the last few months, and deal with things as they come on a case-by-case basis, which I think isn't advisable just from a lack of management behind it, that I think could lead to some confusion and maybe some mismanagement of those funds. And we want to make sure that we keep that as tight and as strategic as we can moving forward. And so with that, that draft policy is there attached for you as well. And I'm certainly open to any questions or further clarity that I can provide.
So we'll open it to questions, comments, or motions. I have Councillor Plummer, then Councillor Frenier, then Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Elijah, for the presentation. It gives us some direction. Using a policy kind of gives us direction about where that funds need to be allocated. I like your municipal allocation policy. I think that, as you say, it's a work in progress. It's something we start with. We don't get too drawn into the weeds about adding percentages per area. I think that just makes things more complex than need to be. You need to be flexible with this, as we do get many events come forward with great ideas or other ideas that come across our desk. We need to be able to be flexible with these funds. So with that, I would move that we accept the municipal accommodation tax revenue allocation policy as presented, and we let this run for the year. If we need to be changes, we can always bring it back next year and start tweaking. Thanks.
The floor, do we have a seconder? Councillor Frenier. So do you want to speak to the motion then?
Thank you. Thank you, Elijah. So I sit on the committee with Elijah that came up with this policy. What I see in the future, possibly after this year, as we also discussed, perhaps council will decide that they want to set it up like the CIP grant. Depending on how this year goes, set a ceiling on how much people can get. Maybe it also establish a certain amount to go into reserves annually, depending on how much comes in. But like Elijah said, this is a fluid document at this point. So we'll wait till next year, and then maybe we'll make those types of decisions if they're needed. If it goes nice the way it is, well, then we'll just continue as is. But I support this. Thank you.
Councillor Keel.
So I would agree with everything that was said. The only thing that I wish I saw was in 4.3 that it be recreation and cultural programs and facilities. So that's, if I was to beg council's indulgence, that would be the only change that I would have made, because when we think of things like our museum and whatnot, there's certainly tourist grabbing things. So that would be the only thing that I would have recommended a tweak with.
Frenier.
Would it be covered under through the chair to Elijah, 4.2, improvements to public spaces that attract tourists? Festival Hall, would that not fall under that? It does attract people to our community to, different venues. So I'm wondering, but I want to make it clear, yeah, exactly, as Councillor Keel does. I would, like Festival Hall, I think that they should be able to apply, depending on what they're doing. But anyway, I'll let you comment.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, that was certainly the intention, was for exactly those cultural facilities to also be eligible here if we're looking at enhancements that need to be made. So certainly I'd support from the staff side just making that addition so that it's really clear that we are looking to support that as well. Yeah, because we don't want this to be limiting. I think we want to do whatever we can to help boost tourism to this region, because that's ultimately going to just boost the economy here and be good for everyone.
I would accept that we're just sort of reading that into that section, yeah.
Any other speakers before we vote? None. Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor to adopt the MAT funds allocation policy, moved by Councillor Plummeter, seconded by Councillor Frenier. Those in favor? Carried unanimously.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Well, Elijah has a sore rib and he still comes into work. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a few items here from our friend, Chief Sell. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, everyone.
PD Fire Department monthly report.
My monthly report for February runs from the date of January 29th to February 25th. We continue to move through our annual inspection list. Pembroke Fire Department, along with Sparky, was invited to attend the McDonald's grand opening. So we took that opportunity to set up an information booth at the restaurant, and we conducted a raffle for emergency kits. Staff training was conducted for Algonquin College in the County of Renfrew. Staff attended the Futures event at Algonquin College. This event allows area high school students the opportunity to meet local professionals and seek advice on pursuing their potential career goals. Public safety messaging on Pembroke's Pure Country focused on what to do during power outages and safe smoking habits and smoking-related fires. Our partnership with the Renfrew County Fire Departments continued as we provided fire safety messaging regarding power outage safety in the Eganville Leader. Our messaging on social media involved the safe use of space heaters and ensuring ventilation piping is cleared of snow. We also posted emergency preparedness messages, specifically around the preparation of emergency kits for use in vehicles and shared weather warnings for the snowstorms we received in February. We also shared posts from our partners, notably the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office, regarding the number of fatal fires in 2024, along with the concerning number of fire deaths already seen in 2025. The past month saw our Facebook followers grow by 17. Under education, firefighters Dunn and Roots continued working through their NFPA 1021 Fire Officer 1 course, and firefighter Kahi began work on the NFPA 1035 Fire and Life Safety Educator course. This semester, we welcomed 2 students from Fellows High School, Kimberly Gray and Jalissa Vasson, as our co-op students. Myself and staff attended a tabletop exercise conducted at the Pembroke Regional Hospital. Heritage Manor's fire safety plan was updated, reviewed, and approved. Supple's Landing fire safety plan is currently being reviewed and updated. Under emergency management, we held 2 exercise planning committee meetings in February, and the Emergency Management Program Committee held a meeting in February. The EOC training room hosted 8 meetings in the month of February, and the Pembroke Firefighters Association sponsored a free skate on Family Day as part of Snow Spree. The association provided hot dogs, hot chocolate, and snacks and gave away several prizes throughout the event. Our training for the month of February is listed. Volunteer training for February focused on building construction, fire extinguishers, fire dynamics, SCBAs, and ground ladders. As far as our permits go for recreational open-air burning, we've seen 2 renewals in February, along with one new permit. Our smoke alarm program in February saw 12 inspections with 20 alarms tested, and there was only 1 alarm missing. 3 alarms were not working. We replaced the battery in 1 alarm, and we installed 3. Under our inspections and consultations, we conducted 121 in February, along with 9 fire safety plans reviewed or approved. Our incidents, we responded to 40 incidents in February, with 1 of them being a fire. With estimated dollar loss was $3,000. And in February, there were 4 letters of warning issued.
Chief, any questions or comments? Seeing none, next item. Mutual aid plan for the fire services within Renfrew County, update bylaw 2020-72.
Thank you, Chair. Staff recommends Council renew bylaw 2020-72, authorizing the Pembroke Fire Department to be a participant in the Renfrew County Mutual Aid Plan. The Pembroke Fire Department has been an active member in the Renfrew County Mutual Aid Plan since its inception, and the Fire Chief of the Pembroke Fire Department has always been the fire coordinator for the Mutual Aid Plan. This authorizing bylaw is required to allow the Pembroke Fire Department to leave our municipal boundaries under the Fire Protection and Prevention Act. The Ontario Fire Marshal's Office recommends all municipalities adopt the bylaw authorizing the Fire Department to participate in their area's mutual aid plan. The bylaw clearly states that Council approve of the Pembroke Fire Department's participation in the Renfrew County Mutual Aid Plan and satisfies the recommendations of the Fire Marshal's Office. Alternate considerations would be to withdraw from the mutual aid plan for the fire services within Renfrew County.
Questions, comments, or motions? Motion required.
Do we need a motion? I'll move that Council renew bylaw 2022-72, authorizing the Pembroke Fire Department to be a participant in the Renfrew County Mutual Aid Plan.
Seconded by Councillor Frenier. Discussion? Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item, Municipal Forest Fire Agreement. Chief Sell.
Staff recommends council approve the entering into an agreement with the Aviation, Forest, Fire, and Emergency Services, a division of the Ministry of Natural Resources. So the city of Pembroke is one of the few municipalities in Renfrew County that does not have an agreement in place with the Aviation, Forest, Fire, and Emergency Services of Ontario for support during forest fire response and suppression efforts. Recent wildfires across Canada, as well as the county of Renfrew, have highlighted the importance of partnerships between municipal fire departments and forest fire technicians. This partnership is key to quickly responding and coordinating extinguishment of forest fires before they pose a threat to or impact homes. Losses, both financial and personal, to communities due to these fires are tremendous. These fires also result in lasting psychological effect that greatly affects the whole community. By authorizing this agreement, the Pembroke Fire Department would have access to support provided by forest fire technicians with the AFFES. This support includes access to helicopters and water bombers if required. Normally, there would be an annual cost associated with this type of agreement. However, due to the makeup of our municipality, the agreement would have zero costings, as the Pembroke Fire Department would provide initial response to and overall management of all grass, brush, and forest fires. If assistance is required from the AFFES, the rates associated with the staffing and the aircraft response are greatly reduced. If approved, a bylaw authorizing the agreement will be forthcoming along with the agreement document. Alternates to consider would just be to continue operations without an agreement.
Questions, comments, motions? Councillor Keel?
Two questions. I'll preface it by saying, generally speaking, I'm interested in this. My first question is, how much is in that emergency reserve and what costs are we looking at?
So rough estimate, well, I can't speak to the reserve. Perhaps Madam Treasurer would be able to assist me on that. But as currently the costings on staff are fairly manageable. However, if we do require helicopter or airplane assistance, like water bomber assistance, that's when we see the costs rise. With an agreement, the costs would be generally 50% of what we would see without an agreement.
But
so,
what are the costs?
Roughly, and I haven't seen the document yet because it just got sent to me today. The rough estimate would be roughly $10,000 for a water bomber, and that includes the plane that comes in to do the mapping for the water bomber, and around $2,700 to $3,000 for a helicopter per hour.
Okay.
Councillor Frenier, then Councillor Giacono.
Thank you.
Oh, Madam Treasurer?
So just for some information, so in an emergency situation, there is a municipal relief program if an emergency is declared, where the city does have access to apply to provincial relief, but we would be responsible for paying, I think it's up to 3% of our own purpose taxation. So we've created a reserve fund for this, and we've been slowly building funds to get to that 3%. So currently, the balance in that reserve is $500,000. And we should be fully topped up, I would think, within the next year or two. So our share of any emergency response costs would come first from that reserve, and then we would apply to the province for any balance of funding that would be required. And I imagine if we're calling in water bombers, then this would be a pretty significant fire event. Thank you.
Councillor Frenier, thank you, Madam Treasurer. Councillor Frenier, then
Yes,
Councillor Giacono.
thank you. Through the chair, I love this. I know I expressed to you some worry about, I live on the boundary of Pembroke and Laurentian Valley, and there was some individuals living in the bush last summer and the summer before, and they had fires going and things, and that's Laurentian Valley. But I wanted to know, do you know if Laurentian Valley is participating in this program? They are. That's great. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because if the fire's coming towards my house, it's not in Pembroke yet. So that's great. So I support this. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under the Emergency Management Act of Ontario, I believe that the CAO has the ability to stroke a check to pay for these costs, and then the money will be reimbursed through the act to the municipality. Would that be correct, Chief or Madam Treasurer?
I would have, through you, Mr. Chair, I would have to do some research on that process.
I believe that, oh, sorry.
I should just stay up here.
Just stay there.
So there is funding through the Municipal Disaster Relief Fund.
Drop.
So there's a municipal version of that. So it would require us declaring, like formally declaring an emergency, but once that's been activated.
The funds would be reimbursed up to a certain amount.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Keel?
I move, I guess we're recommending to council that we approve the entering into an agreement with the Aviation, Forest, Fire, and Emergency Services, a division of the Ministry of Natural Resources.
Seconder, Councillor Plummer. Any more discussion on that motion? Those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Chief. Next item, we have our treasurer and,
Ms. Belair.
yes, I forgot your name. I apologize. I know a lot of people, but I forgot your name. I apologize for that. Hey? We have a few items tonight, beginning with Energy Audit Report, Victoria Hall.
So this was discussed briefly during budget deliberations. So we do have a final version of the report to present to council for information tonight. So in the fall of 2024, the city did have an opportunity to apply to the Green and Inclusive Community Building Fund. So in order to be able to apply to this fund, an energy audit needed to be completed to support the application. So after a discussion with the CAO and our chief building official, it was determined that Victoria Hall would be the best fit for this grant application in this round of funding. So the city did complete the report and submit a grant request to the province with a total project cost of $1.2 million to improve the energy efficiency of the building. If we are successful in obtaining this grant, the grant would provide $989,924 worth of funding for this project. If we are not successful in obtaining this grant, then the city portion of funds would still be required because of the age and the extent of repairs that are required for the building. Essentially, what this report proposes is to essentially take a large amount of the building kind of back to the studs again and re-insulate the walls, the roof, replace some buildings, and add heat pump heating and ventilation into the building to help address the energy loss and heating issues within that building. It is a fairly old building. It does require a lot of upgrades, so if we were able to obtain a grant for that, that would be certainly a wonderful improvement to the building. So I have checked the website. They still have not announced any results from this round of funding, so we continue to wait and see. But certainly, it's good to know sort of the scale of costs that are going to be required to update that building in the years to come.
Questions, comments, Councillor Frenier?
Through the chair, does this grant, is this applicable to the original portion of the building? So just the front? Yes, that's what I thought. Just the original part. Thank you.
Councillor Keel?
Just looking forward, when you mentioned taking it down to the studs, that was the first time I really thought about it. Obviously, we have one tenant in there, the senior center. Have we put forward thought as to where they would go in the meantime? Again, just because this is the first time I thought that, I'm guessing we would have to evict them temporarily in order to get this work done. So I just want to make sure we're thinking ahead, because I certainly hope we get the grant and can move forward with these renovations. I mean, Victoria Hall is, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it was our first permanent city hall. It's a beautiful building, absolutely beautiful. And certainly maybe the architectural side of me hopes that we do in fact continue to maintain it and give it, give it a couple hundred more years to go.
Yes, Madam Treasurer.
So for the completion of the work, we did add an extra year, just so that we would give the seniors active living center sufficient notice to be able to find an alternate location during construction. So that was the plan, because they would need to vacate for a period of time in order to complete the work.
When do you expect, when was the grant notification period going to be? This month?
So there's no mention of when a decision is going to be forthcoming, but applications were made in the fall, so I would expect to hear something relatively soon.
Okay, thank you. Next item, the tangible capital asset policy.
So this report brings forward the draft tangible capital asset policy. So we have reviewed the 2019 fixed asset policy that was created to comply with the Public Sector Accounting Board, Section 3150. The policy has been renamed to tangible capital asset and restructured. So the sections containing threshold amounts and estimated useful life have been removed from the body of the policy and added as appendices. And policy wording has been updated to provide formal authority to the treasurer to update these appendices as may be required to ensure continued relevancy of the policy as asset management planning continues to evolve. So the report is attached, and the staff recommends that the committee approve the revised tangible capital asset policy.
Yes, Madam Treasurer.
So if I could just add in, so the preparation of our non-core asset management plan last year really revealed the need to update this policy, just because some of our thresholds were quite, because a lot of the dollar amount thresholds for whether or not something is an asset was originally established in 2014, and inflation has been quite substantial since that point of time. Some of the estimated useful life of different pieces of equipment did not meet the managers and the different department managers' expectations of how long different equipment should last. So we did undertake, as we were interviewing each director for last year's asset management plan, we did take some time to, take notes, update. So this policy is essentially an reorganization, so the policy flows a little bit better, as well as, reflecting the updates and the information that we are then going to use in our asset management plans moving forward.
Thank you. Questions, comments, motions? Councillor Finney.
Motion to accept?
Okay, seconder. Councillor Giacono. Discussion? Those in favor? Carried. Next item. Oh, there it is. We have Section 357, property tax adjustments for partially damaged buildings.
So under the Municipal Act, property owners can apply to the city to have their property taxes adjusted for a number of different scenarios, which they're not all listed here, but they can include if a property is changing classes. So if a portion of a building was residential with a commercial office and the commercial office wasn't being used anymore, the homeowner can apply to the city to have their property taxes adjusted, and this is a function that's handled by the city's tax department. So one of the reasons why people's property taxes can be adjusted is if the property was damaged by fire. Obviously, if a building is completely consumed by fire and requires demolition, then that's a fairly easy property adjustment. If it's only partially damaged from fire, then how much should the property taxes be adjusted for? So historically, as these property tax adjustment requests have come through our office, the city's process historically has been to, gather information about the property, complete a form, send it to MPAC. MPAC will review it, assign an assessed value to it, and then the city will then take that adjustment in property assessment. So let's say, the value of the building decreased by $50,000. The city will then apply a credit to that property and say, $50,000 credit times the city's tax rates. You're going to get because of the fire damage in this year's property tax bill, you're going to receive a $250 credit, for example. However, late last year, MPAC has come out and advised all municipalities that this approach falls outside their scope of authority, and they're putting responsibility back on the municipality to determine how much to credit property taxes in these types of scenarios. So this is put it back on the staff to determine how much of the assessed value of a property is damaged. I mean, the difficulty in assessing that is, we're not property assessment experts. The information, according to each situation, could be very different, and it's the amount of money it might take to fix something does not necessarily translate into how much the property is assessed for and what proportion of that is damaged. So there's not really any good information the city can use, some good consistent information the city can use to be able to assess a credit. In discussing with other municipal treasurers across Ontario and analyzing, out of a building, how much is related to the structure, how much is the roof, how much is the interior finishes, how much is like the heating and electrical and that kind of thing. I've determined that a credit between 30 and 40% is the most appropriate for a building that's partially damaged by fire or otherwise. And again, the property has to be unusable for at least 3 months during the year to be eligible for this credit to begin with. So as part of the discussions with staff and other treasurers, it's recommended that the city use a flat percentage adjustment approach for all properties that fall into this category. So MPAC will still tell us how much the entire building is worth, and then staff can then apply and say, okay, 35% of that is the amount we're going to assess for your property tax credit, and then apply it to taxes from the date of damage to the end of the year. So I know this is complicated because it's not usually an area of tax policy that we have to talk about, but I am looking for a recommendation from the Finance and Admin Committee to set this as a policy of the municipality and to recommend that a flat 35% property tax adjustment rate on these type of applications be applied related to partially damaged buildings and or major renovations that might be required. And I'm sure there's going to be questions.
Councillor Keel and Councillor Frenier.
So just to be clear, we could choose to not offer any discount. So I guess the issue that I have with this is threefold. Number one, this is adding to staff's workload, which we just discussed during budget, is already bursting at the seams. Number two, I appreciate that you just had a fire or something, and I'm trusting that, like most of us homeowners, you paid money to have insurance to fix your property. In the meantime, though, what municipal services are you not getting? You still have the road that needs to be plowed in front of this house. You still have the chief building official that needs to check on things. You still have the water and sewer hookups are still there. So I'm not sure, I guess, just notionally, I'm not sure why we're giving you a tax break. And number three, are we not incentivizing somebody to not then renovate and fix up their building? I mean, I'm thinking of that old Hink Street property sat there for, I don't know how long, after a fire, and it was broken into, and there was criminal activity. So I don't know if I'm just completely out in right field on this one, but I'm questioning why we're giving any tax break. I mean, my hope is that you would get things fixed as quickly as possible, or you would move to demolition as quickly as possible, which you noted then would, of course, trigger an impact reassessment. So if somebody was asking me what to do, my question would be, let's not offer any tax break and let's incentivize them to get things back to working order.
So through the chair. So I think the issue is particularly with smoke damage, because smoke damage, you could have had a fire in one part of your house, but the smoke damage could actually infect your whole house, and you might not be living in that house for a year. I guess the other thing to keep in mind is that property taxes are based on how much your property is worth. And if your home is you're not able to live in your home for at least a year while it's being renovated, and then should property taxes not be adjusted, at least in part, to reflect that, if you were to sell it tomorrow, it's not worth how much your property was originally assessed at.
I'm going to maintain my position.
Councillor Frenier?
So through the chair, I just want to remind members of council about our previous vacancy rebate that we got rid of. We had a vacancy rebate for businesses that were empty, and we got rid of it over a 3 or 4 year period because people weren't encouraged to rent them out. And so I look at this similarly. I want to make sure they're encouraged to restore it. And when you talk about smoke damage, the insurance companies, they facilitate the individuals quite well. Like, I know a family that actually had that happen about 14 months ago now. And the insurance puts them up, pays them well wherever they're staying. I mean, I'm not going to go on and on about it, but these individuals are actually making a lot of money on the insurance claim. So, because just the way it's working out. And I know that's happened a couple of times to individuals I know that were displaced. So I tend to agree with Councillor Keel. I don't want to encourage people to say, hey, I'm doing pretty good on insurance, so, I don't mind. I think, yeah. So I tend to agree.
Councillor Jagano, then the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This section 357 property tax adjustment, is that covered under our jurisdiction, or is it a provincial assessment jurisdiction?
So Section 357 is under the Municipal Act, which is a provision for the adjustment of property taxes in a given year, and the reasons why your property taxes can be adjusted in a year. So they basically list out the only reasons why your property taxes could be an adjustment. So, for example, your property changes classes. For example, a building is demolished. And again, this is one of the examples where they have a line in the act to say
So
that.
this is covered, however, by the Municipal Act as opposed to our own bylaw, as said bylaw. So it's a cover agency from the Municipal Act that we should follow or not follow, correct?
So essentially, it's up to the municipality to decide how to address these types of applications. And again, this was something that MPAC used to handle for the municipality, and they don't anymore. So it was like in the case of a building is demolished, it's very clear the building assessment should come off. If a building is partially damaged, or if there's significant renovations occurring within the building, again, property owners could apply to the municipality. It's just a question of what's the city's, given that, we're not going to be receiving information anymore from MPAC, how do we want to handle these types of cases? And certainly one option could be, we're not adjusting the property taxes. I mean, that's an option.
Mr. Chair, if I may, how many requests have we had?
We get a couple a year.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Gervais, then Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So typically, I'm not usually highly critical of the province, but I'm struggling here that we have, as I recall it, made a resolution to the province to tell them that they need to start their assessments again, not from a willing buyer to a willing seller, but just across the board, instead of using the 2016, I believe, assessment, to start that again. That hasn't happened. Yet in the late 2024, there was a determination, we're not doing this anymore. So I'm struggling with that one. I'm wondering as to the thoughts of council, for what it's worth, in terms of whether it's a resolution or it's a delegation at AMO or what it is, to again try and hit it home that something is wrong here with assessments in general. I don't know, in terms of Madam Treasurer, what other, I recognize staff talk to staff and elected talk to elected, generally speaking, but any thoughts that Madam Treasurer is willing to share in terms of a staffing, talking to other staff of other municipalities as to, is this a common thought, that something is wrong here with MPAC?
So I can't speak for MPAC, but I believe it has to do with they don't feel it fits within the legal authority that's been given to them, because their authority comes from the Assessment Act, and this is a Municipal Act issue. So my understanding is this is where they've drawn the line to say, we don't have the authority to be doing this, and so we're not doing this anymore. Certainly, the treasurers across Ontario aren't too happy about it because this is not our area of expertise. Other treasurers that I've talked to are all considering taking a flat percentage approach to these types of applications. And 30% seems to be the average, but it's only coming up as municipalities are getting these applications. And I have an application that I've been sitting on for about 2 months to get through budgets to then bring this to council to talk about it. So I believe I have 1 or 2 applications currently waiting for this decision to know how we're going to handle it.
Briefly, I'm just wondering in terms of council members, whether or not there's support for that, so that council and staff could work towards a resolution, or B, bringing something to AMO, just because this is not making any sense.
Quickly, I would agree with the mayor that, I mean, if our own staff are saying this isn't within their expertise wheelhouse, whereas MPAC's exact wheelhouse is to assess things, yes, I fully agree with the mayor that we should maybe approach our brand new MPP and then maybe seek a delegation at the next conference.
Councillor Purcell, then Councillor Lafreniere.
Thanks, Chair. I totally agree. I guess I'm a little bit confused, especially when it's, I guess, the subsection G. Repairs or renovations to the land preventing the normal use of the land for a period of at least 3 months during the year. So if it's demolition, so if I demolish my backyard to put in a pool and it takes longer than 3 months, the way that this is written, I could request the tax exemption or reduction. Yeah, I think it's a little bit odd because it's demolition and it's property. It doesn't necessarily have to be the building. It could be the property, and it'd be a portion of the property. The valuation would be on the portion of the property. So somebody who's doing substantial renovations, would that be applicable then?
Okay.
I wouldn't have the enjoyment of my backyard because it's bulldozed for a period of 3 months to get this enhancement to my home done. But then I could apply for tax relief. I just don't think that that's appropriate either. So I do think it's a little bit confusing.
Thank you. Councillor Lafreniere, you wanted to?
Do we need a motion if we're going to turn it down? I was just going to put forward a motion that we
Motion
not
to table it.
proceed. No, I would move.
Counselor, definitely a good point. However, we can't have a negative motion. What committee can do is accept as information with the added direction for the potential delegation, or you amend the motion as it stands. So you can accept, which means you accept it for information with the added direction, or you can amend.
Yep.
Do we currently have a policy? Because in that case, we would have to amend the policy to negate, I guess, or to bring the rebate to zero, or something.
Correct. Yeah, you can, if you want to further on with the policy and let staff carry on with the regular business, you can do that as well. Amend the motion to outline the preferred percentage if there is one.
What she said.
Go ahead, Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I
So
think,
it sounds like we want to approve a 0% property tax adjustment rate. So I would just amend my recommendation to say 0% is going to be our policy. And then with the instruction that we should bring in a delegation to AMO to further discuss this topic.
yes, I move.
Okay.
Seconder? Discussion? Those in favor? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you very much, Madam Treasurer and Ms. Belair. See, I remembered your name because I wrote it down here. No, I remember it now.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn, Councillor Keel. Seconder, Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the striking committee meeting to order for March 4th. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda being amended to allow us to deal with 8B before moving into the closed session. So I have the deputy mayor moving the amended agenda and seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? And that is carried. Minute meetings of January 7th, 2025 having been circulated. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? Carried. Right on. Moving down then to 8B, which is the next one, establishing of an anniversary committee. Welcome, Clerk Charbonneau.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Today, we're going to review the report for the establishment of an anniversary committee. As everyone around the table knows, a very important year, 2028, will signify the 200th anniversary of the City of Pembroke. And so to ensure successful planning and execution of anniversary events, it's recommended that a committee be formed in advance of the anniversary year. So the goal is to establish a City of Pembroke 200th anniversary committee, and this is to commemorate this historic milestone. The committee's role will be to provide advice, support, and assistance to the Economic Development and Communications Officer, Tourism and Digital Media Officer, and these staff members will be responsible for liaising with council and overseeing the anniversary activity management as it unfolds. So for committee's review this evening, there's a draft terms of reference that has been prepared, and that can be seen in Appendix A. This is being prepared in consultation with a like township that has recently celebrated some milestone anniversary events, and they had great success with it. So as you'll see in the committee composition on the terms of reference, the mayor will serve as a key representative for the city. There will be 2 councillor appointees, the Economic Development and Communications Officer and Tourism and Digital Meeting Officer as non-voting members, as well as 1 special events staff member from the city, and then 1 representative from the business improvement area, combined with 5 community members from the community. And we would also like to see some representation from First Nations representatives as well to consult with. The appointment of the term will coincide with the current term of council, hopefully with the understanding that this committee will serve over 2 terms of council. So with the new council coming in as written in the terms of reference, to remain consistent for the duration of the planning process. So the new council will hopefully just appoint the same members for the second portion of the committee's term. So the next steps are, as I'm here today, to request the committee's approval for the terms of reference and then begin a formal application process and then subsequently to appoint members to the committee. And I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Keel.
Okay, we'll do some of this off paper and some of it off the cuff. So I think this is a great idea. I mean, obviously, a 200th anniversary is I mean, a spectacular event. I would assume many of us around this table will probably not see 250. And I say that as the youngest member around the table. So I certainly think getting started early, I think the mayor and I had discussions maybe a year ago even. I was happy to see us looking at it from a budgetary perspective. I was even more happy to see that we're, I guess, potentially looking at Coronation Park as a legacy project. And I say that, well, there's nobody else in the room, but you know, I say that with respect to the fact that often funding for legacy projects, sponsorships, contributions, I mean, when I think about our boardwalk and perhaps Councillor Giacono can talk about the community contributions that went into that millennial legacy project. So certainly this is not only something that's worth celebrating, I think it's something that actually can bring the community together and that we can get some stuff done for future generations. So I wholeheartedly support this idea. I wouldn't mind sitting on this committee, but we'll have chats about that, I guess, when the time comes to appoint members. With respect to reporting, because of the size of this event, and obviously it's going to have budgetary pressures, I'm wondering if in the policy, whether it's semi-annual would be twice a year. If reporting to council could occur, again, just because of the size of this event. And then in terms of the attendance policy, I have been on a committee where an attendance issue certainly occurred, and I'm just wondering if in the attendance policy, if we could, I don't want to say make it stricter, but tighten it up a bit more. I think the way it reads right now is if you miss 3 consecutive meetings, then the chair will have a talk with you, and then you may be asked to relinquish. Certainly if somebody has health issues or whatnot, that's completely different, but again, if you're missing 3 consecutive meetings, I think you might unfortunately be getting a little out of the loop at that point even, and it's sometimes not fair to the other committee members who are, they're pulling their weight and they're attending most of the meetings. So I would just like to see that tightened up a little bit. But other than that, I'm so grateful that that we're going to move forward with this with terms of reference and that. Thank you, Victoria.
So Councillor Purcell, did I see your hand up at one point or no?
Certainly, that's fine.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is an exciting event that's going to happen for the 200th year anniversary. I remember the sesquicentennial like it was yesterday. Fortunately, I don't know how long that was away. It's about 50 years ago. I remember seeing at the PMC 4 strong winds at the sesquicentennial, so it brings back a lot of memories. But I think it's a great celebration. I think having the terms of reference really kind of details, what the goals in terms of what we're trying to accomplish, the composition in terms of the committee, and I think I'd like to see a little bit more about the fiscal oversight in regards to how that's going to be reported back up to council as well. Yeah, I think it's an awesome idea, and I think it's going to be a fantastic event. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, great plan ahead, very important. I sat on the Rogers Hometown Hockey Committee, and, I know there's many strong volunteers in the community. Jamie Bramberger chaired that committee, and that was put together in a short time, and so, to plan it well ahead of the event, it's a major milestone for a community. Councillor Keel and I were talking, and I mentioned this to the mayor. The PBIA, one rep from the PBIA, and could we also add a member of the business community outside the PBA? Like we have the Pembroke Mall, the West End Mall. We have many businesses in Pembroke. So could we add a member outside of the PBA boundary to the committee?
If that's the general consensus, I can update that and we can move forward.
Like a business member? Yeah. Right. There's just a business member might volunteer, apply that doesn't reside in the PBA zone. Councillor Plummer?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was going to go to Councillor Giacono and then Councillor Plummer.
Anyway,
Thank you.
Anyways, that's the.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very exciting for sure. I know during the sesquicentennial, they had a coin struck that commemorated the corporation. I think, I'm not saying it should be done for us, but the members of council of the day were on there. I have a couple of them at home as souvenirs. But maybe there could be a special project to commemorate something that has happened within the, the history of the city of Pembroke that involves staff or whatever. Very excited about the application of 200 years. I mean, that really is a milestone. I really feel that there should be an invite to CFP Petawawa. I mean, they celebrated 100 years as a base, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But I mean, if it wasn't for Pembroke, the base wouldn't have evolved because we were the throughway to the base, and I I think there may be some interaction with the military because of the close relationship that the city has had. We have many members of the military living within our community that also work, play, and volunteer, hockey, etc. So maybe it may be something to consider. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'd be pleased to sit on a committee if that would be the due wishes, whoever. More the merrier. Let's get her going.
Mr. Plummer?
I was just going to ask the question, up to 5 community volunteers, I assume this will come back to council as we pick who's actually on the board. So at that time, would it not be up to council's prerogative to then choose members that are, part of the business community, part of, that are going to bring something to this table instead of identifying individuals? I know we have one line item for, for Pembroke business area because we assume that the downtown is going to be heavily involved as the core of our city. But also, if we go and start special picking we want someone from this category, want something from this category, I believe a lot of that could be done during the selection period as we have 5 community volunteer members.
I feel like that's a fair approach through you, Chair. It's application driven, so we'll have to assess the diversity of the applicants, and that will be up to the striking committee to select based on a number of factors, including those.
Lafreniere?
I agree with Councillor Plummer. And I think as this committee gets further down the road, you may start to involve business partners like media, the radio station, and individuals like that. Maybe they want to volunteer some time to help with promotion but yeah, I would say just leave it as it is and see who comes forward, and yeah.
So from the chair, I couldn't be more excited about this. I know that I've had a number of conversations with Councillor Keelan. It's like, well, is this coming? And it's like, yes, it's coming. We're working on it. And I know working with the clerk trying to formulate something, but that was my thought, which is if you have up to 5 community volunteers, see who it applies. And I couldn't say enough to try and encourage a diverse group of individuals coming forward. I realize in our community, there's certain individuals that we consistently rely upon that have done great monumental things for the city of Pembroke. But I wrote down here that Pembroke is not the same as it was in 1828, that there is a lot of changes to our community. The people of Pembroke are different. And so hence the conversation we've had about trying to without going down that path too far, but trying to reflect what the population is. So it's organizing it, but different individuals want different things to recognize Pembroke. And so I'm hopeful that there's people from a variety of different backgrounds, whether it be Indigenous, whether it be business leaders and so forth. I know what Councillor Jackin was talking about because I have a number of the coins. I know that Councillor Purcell and I have been looking at, we each have this, I'll call it a medallion because I don't quite know what to call it, but it has the City of Pembroke logo embossed on it and so forth. Haven't quite figured out what it is. The museum hasn't told me what it is yet, but it's a keepsake that books, and I have a number of them in the mayor's office, get tattered and whatnot. They continue to exist, but they're harder to preserve. But there's certain things that go on forever, and that's why, in terms of council looking at different legacy projects, something that forevermore, it recognizes Pembroke. So that was the idea. But certainly, like every other committee that we strike, people apply, and that's part of our duty in terms of striking committee of all of council is to go through it and try and figure out who it is that would work together. And I perfectly understand because I know what Councillor Keel's referring to in terms of committee attendance. Let's have people that are committed, that are actually going to attend and just want to drive this home because this is something that Pembroke can rally behind. So some last final words, and then we're okay.
Final word would be OVTA. Should we involve them since they're going to be getting a large portion of MAT tax? Maybe they could assist us, in some kind of financial way with this. So that's just to put that out there. I'm not.
Okay, and I think Deputy Mayor, you had your hand up.
No, that's fine. 5 people from the general public. We can encourage people from business, First Nations to apply and go from there.
If I may, Your Worship, just to explain the Deputy Mayor's comment, so recently I have been approached by a couple of businesses with the feeling that we are very PBIA focused, and so when the list came out, and again, it was a dedicated member from the PBIA, that's just what spurred the conversation. So I think just with that explanation, but of course, as Councillor Plummer and Councillor Lafreniere said, we can't always, with the community volunteers, balance things out. But I guess I do want to just say that it has been noted to me now by 3 business people that they do feel our council, and I don't want them to feel that way, because although we do talk about the PBIA a lot, I think because it's a board under the city, and they're often coming here with mutual projects, I certainly don't want the rest of the businesses in Pembroke to think that we don't care about them. We do have a focus on the PBIA simply because of the legal and the realistic relationship that we have in terms of various partnerships and shared space downtown and stuff like that. But that's where that comment was coming from, Your Worship.
Fair enough, and I can say that then, if we're going to air that, is that staff purposely, when I discuss things with them, as in where are we going to hold a mayor's breakfast, where are we going to do certain things, we purposely do it somewhere outside of the PBIA to ensure that the outside, that all of Pembroke feels included in what we're trying to do. So, Ms. Charbonneau, do you have, I recognize that there's some tweaks in terms of the terms of reference for the anniversary committee, but do you want a motion, and do you generally have what you require for us to proceed with this?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So a motion to establish the committee would be great, and what I can do then is I'll do the tweaks, I'll bring that back, and we'll appoint the members and formally accept the terms of reference at that point in time.
Okay, and so I have a motion by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So with that completed, moving under closed session, I understand, Councillor Friend, you have a motion to move into a closed session.
Motion to move into a striking committee in caucus meeting March 4th, 2025, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees, regarding membership to the Accessibility Advisory Committee as per Section 239 2B of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended.
You moved by Councillor Fenny and seconded by Councillor Keel that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual or individuals, including municipal or local board employees, regarding membership to the Accessibility Advisory Committee as per Section 239 Sub 2 Sub B of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session. A striking committee and caucus meeting was just held to discuss personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees, regarding membership to the Accessibility Advisory Committee as per Section 239, Sub 2, Sub B of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. No pecuniary interests were declared. A report concerning the membership to the Accessibility Advisory Committee and the individual recommended for the appointment to that committee will now be discussed. Next up, Madam Clerk, did you want to deal with membership appointment to Accessibility Advisory Committee?
Thank you, Chair. So due to a resignation from a member of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, there is a need to fill the vacancy to help contribute to the important work of the Advisory Committee for Council. Just as an overview, the City of Pembroke Accessibility Advisory Committee is legislated by the Province of Ontario and recommends and advises City Council on matters to improve opportunities for persons with disabilities and to provide involvement in the identification and removal of accessibility barriers. Per the terms of reference, one member of council and one staff representative is on the committee, along with 3 community members. As stated before, there's currently 1 vacancy. There was a meeting enclosed, and it is reported and recommended that David Sloan be appointed to the City of Pembroke Accessibility Advisory Committee. Happy to answer any questions if there are.
Any questions for Madam Clerk? Seeing none. Next up, a motion. This will be later on Council's agenda. Motion to adjourn. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you. everyone. I'd like to call this council meeting to order for March 4th. I would ask everyone to please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosed pecuniary interest in relation to the items on this council agenda? Seeing none. Number of different minutes. First up is regular meeting of council, February 18th. I'd entertain a motion. Everyone was in attendance that night, so who's moving? Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. Then there was a special meeting of council, February 25th, 2025, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of minutes from various committees. So first up is Finance and Administration Committee, January 7th, 2025, moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? Carried. Taking a page from the Deputy Mayor's book, the next one up is Finance and Admin Committee budget meetings, and so we have a number of them because it was quite the budget. December 10th, December 11th, January 6th, January 14th, and January 27th. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? That is carried. Then we have a Striking Committee meeting, January 7th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? Last but not least is receiving minutes, local boards. We have one tonight, which is the Pembroke Public Library Board, January 16th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Giacono. Those in favor? That is carried. Delegations and presentations. At this point, I'd like to turn things over to Councillor Lafreniere, and perhaps you can explain what it is that you're about to inform us about.
Yes. So 2 weeks ago Friday, we had the grade 5-6 class from the Cathedral Separate School in Pembroke come and make a presentation to myself, the mayor, members of staff, management, and they had taken on a project. They wanted to present it to the city of Pembroke. And there was two components to this assignment they were given. One was to look at biomass and renewable energy, and they did a presentation on how they felt the city of Pembroke could incorporate those things into our operations and our parks and things like that. And the second component was poetry about Pembroke. And you wouldn't believe what this class of grade 5-6 has to say about the city of Pembroke. I just thought I had to share it, and staff agreed. And I'm going to read one poem at the beginning, during council meeting, until I'm out of poems. And I think I have a dozen of them. But I think it would just help everyone, remind everyone how fortunate we are with everything going on in the world, that this is a glimmer of hope. Our students still have hope for the future, which I think is great with everything happening. I just want to show you, Jackson Jones made this poster. There was another poster. They wouldn't leave it with us, but it was pretty elaborate. But this is his poster, and it's the windmills, and but they really put a lot of work in. He actually talked about his poster in the presentation. So I didn't mention the teacher. The teacher of this 5-6 class is Ms. Jordan Dubé, and she was pretty excited to be here with them as well. So the first poem, that's okay. Pembroke, sweet Pembroke, don't you understand you're the greatest city on land? I love seeing the beavers building their nest, the kids yelling happily, ready to swim in their life vest. I get wide-eyed watching the fireworks fly in the sky. I run to the river to splash in the water shimmering from the light. My friends and I sliding our hands on the hot plastic slide. I love listening to the crazy tides. Pembroke, sweet Pembroke, promise you'll never leave me. From Ariana. So that is number one, and look forward to the rest coming in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that, Councillor Lafreniere. Okay, so staff and committee reports. We have a report from Striking Committee, appointment to Accessibility Advisory Committee. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Striking Committee of Council begs to report and recommend from its meeting held this evening as follows. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Plummer, that David Sloan be appointed to the City of Pembroke Accessibility Advisory Committee due to resignation, and awaiting your signature.
Thank you. Striking Committee of Council begging to recommend and report from its meeting held earlier this evening. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Plummer, that David Sloan be appointed to the City of Pembroke Accessibility and Advisory Committee. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. The next staff and committee report will come forward, I guess, at a future date once having been discussed earlier this evening. Moving to proclamations. So I do hereby declare March 2025 as Amelia Doses.
I amended the resolution, we have to establish the committee.
Oh, okay. So we'll move back then to strike committee report, not to terms of reference, but to strike the committee. Councillor Keel.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, your striking committee of council begs to report and recommend from its meeting held this evening as follows: that the City Council approve the establishment of a City of Pembroke Anniversary Committee, and furthermore, the staff be directed to advertise the positions for community volunteers and bring back a report to striking committee for review at a future meeting.
Sorry about that. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that City Council approve the establishment of a City of Pembroke Anniversary Committee, and further the staff be directed to advertise the positions for the community volunteers and bring back a report to striking committee for review at a future meeting. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay. Proclamations. I do hereby declare March 2025 as Amyloidosis Awareness Month in the City of Pembroke. Whereas March is Amyloidosis Awareness Month, a month dedicated to raising awareness, funding research, and supporting those living with amyloidosis and their loved ones. And whereas amyloidosis is a group of diseases that occurs when an abnormal protein known as amyloid builds up in the tissues and organs of the body. Left untreated, the disease can result in organ failure and can be fatal. And whereas amyloidosis can mimic the signs and symptoms of more common medical conditions, and the disease can be challenging to diagnose, and whereas amyloidosis often affects people who are older or middle-aged, however, younger people have been diagnosed with this disease, and whereas some of the signs and symptoms of amyloidosis can include shortness of breath, weight loss, fatigue, swelling in the ankles and legs, numbness in the hands and feet, foamy urine, carpal tunnel syndrome, bruising around the eyes, and enlarged tongue. Whereas early diagnosis can lead to better outcomes for both patients and their families, whereas raising awareness about the amyloidosis disease includes hereditary and non-hereditary forms of the disease, can contribute to the building of healthier communities across Canada. So as indicated earlier, amyloidosis is a rare disease that occurs when a protein called amyloid builds up in the organs, and doing so, the organs do not function properly, and organs then include heart, kidney, liver, spleen, nervous system, and digestive tract, and as indicated, can cause death. So therefore, be it resolved that I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Amyloidosis Awareness Month in the City of Pembroke. The second proclamation for this evening is that I do hereby declare March 8th, 2025 as International Women's Day in the City of Pembroke. Whereas International Women's Day is celebrated globally by those who advocate for gender equality and women's rights in an effort to improve the lives of women and girls, two-spirited, trans, non-binary, and gender-diverse peoples. And whereas International Women's Day is an opportunity to celebrate and recognize the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women, and marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality. And whereas women and girls, in particular women with disabilities, racialized women, Indigenous women, immigrant women, two-spirited, and gender-diverse peoples continue to experience many forms of oppression, including violence, discrimination, income disparity, and barriers to access. And whereas International Women's Day is a time to work towards a world where each woman and girl can exercise her choice, such as participating in politics, getting an education, having an income, and living in society free from violence and discrimination. So So as indicated, March 8th is International Women's Day, and it's truly important to take this time to reflect and acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of women from all backgrounds. I'm sure that as we reflect this evening, that there are many women in all of our lives that have made true, lasting impacts to us personally and to our community, and so let us celebrate these women. So therefore, be it resolved that I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby proclaim March 8th, 2025 as International Women's Day in the City of Pembroke, and be it further resolved that the 2025 theme be for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment, calls for action that can unlock equal rights, power, and opportunities for all, and a feminist future where no one is left behind. Bylaws. So the first this evening is 2025-24, bylaw to establish fees and charges. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Andrew Plummer, that bylaw 2025-24 to establish fees and charges on persons for payment of municipal services, activities, and use of municipal property for the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further, that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
You moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Plummer that bylaw 2025-24 to establish fees and charges on persons for payment of municipal services, activities, and use of municipal property for the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Did you have a comment, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, Your Worship. This bylaw is being updated to increase the tax certificate rate from $50 to $60 effective May 1st, 2025, as discussed during Budget 2025 deliberations. Law firms will be notified of this change.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is 2025-25, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of an agreement. Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Andrew Plummer, that bylaw 2025-24 to authorize the entering into a contribution agreement for the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program, ZVIP, between His Majesty the King in the Right of Canada and the Corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further, that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
Thank you. Moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Plummer that bylaw 2025-24 to authorize the entering into a contribution agreement for zero emissions vehicle infrastructure program between His Majesty the King in Right of Canada and the Corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed. Further, said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is 2025-26, a bylaw to authorize and adopt the City of Pembroke's emergency management program. Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Myself, seconded by Councillor Jacquino, that bylaw 2025-26 to authorize and adopt the City of Pembroke's emergency management program and emergency plan be adopted and passed, and further the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Plummer and seconded by Councillor Jacquino that bylaw 2025-26 to authorize and adopt the City of Pembroke's emergency management program and emergency plan be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Councillor Plummer, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Question. Those in favor? That is carried. Brings us to 2025-27, a bylaw to adopt a community recreation grant policy. Councillor Frenier.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel, that bylaw 2025-27 to adopt a community recreation grant policy for the Corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed. And further, that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
Moved by Councillor Frenier and seconded by Councillor Keel. The bylaw 2025-27 to adopt a community recreation grant policy for the Corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Councillor Frenier?
Yes, this is a new grant policy system. When people come to the city with a request for free services or dollar value to support an event that's taking place in the city, we have a certain amount in the budget, and there will be an application timeline, etc. It's just one way of controlling our expenses for the city of Pembroke.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to motions. Resolution 2025-0313, Community Improvement Plan. Councillor Jacquino.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Plummer. Be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Pembroke approves the application from Michelle Van Drom, tenant of A 1085 Pembroke Street West, for the Community Improvement Plan Facade Improvement Grant. The applicant must comply with grant guidelines of the Facade Improvement Grant and will have 18 months to complete all work and submit receipts in order to receive the grant. The grant total awarded to the applicant is $1,185, and awaiting your signature, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Jacquino, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Pembroke approves the application from Michael Van Drom, tenant at A1085 Pembroke Street West, for the Community Improvement Plan Facade Improvement Grant. Applicant must comply with grant guidelines for the facade improvement grant and will have 18 months to complete the work and submit receipts in order to receive the grant. Grant totaling $1,185. Councillor Jacquino, did you have any comments?
Yes, the application falls within the parameters of what is required.
Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Under correspondence, just to confirm that we've received a petition that was circulated to all of us, and if council, I don't know by motion or not, but if council can refer this to the Director of Operations, as he's already reviewing this particular subject matter, but okay, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. Mayor's report. So good evening, everyone. I wish to bring forward my mayor's report at this time. On February 20th, I had the pleasure to meet with the owners and manager, staff, and other Lumber Kings as we participated in the grand reopening of the Pembroke location of McDonald's that was alluded to by the chief earlier this evening. This business employs more than 100 people in our community and is a great business to have in our community, and so congratulations to McDonald's. On February 22nd, the Legion conducted their award ceremony. As I've said in the past and continue to say, the Legion is a very valued part of our community, doing many great things for all of us. Congratulations to all of the recipients. If anyone's ever looking to volunteer for a very worthwhile organization, please consider joining or volunteering at Legion Branch 72. Later on that date, participated in the coolest night of the year with my daughter. The grand reveal was for more than 120,000 as of that particular date, with over approximately 285 walkers, and we received, as the City of Pembroke, kudos for the great sidewalks and that they had been taken care of to make sure that the event was conducted safely. March 1st, I had the pleasure of bringing greetings to the Senior Active Living Fair held by the Pembroke 50 Plus Active Living Center. The Deputy Mayor had a booth there with the city and certainly was well represented by a number of different individuals and organizations. As expressed then, seniors are an ever-increasing demographic. These men and women deserve and desire an active lifestyle, and have rich contributions to our community. A tip of the hat to this center for organizing such a great event. On March 3rd, I was invited to attend the awards presentation of King Charles III Coronation Medals. So these medals were created to mark the coronation of His Majesty the King Charles III, which took place on May 6, 2023. It recognizes individuals who have made a significant contribution to a particular province, territory, region, or community in Canada, or attained an outstanding achievement abroad and that brings credit to our country. Having said that, there was a number of mayors in attendance, and they had asked me to attend. There's not a large list, and so I'm going to read off the list of individuals, and I wholeheartedly believe that you're going to recognize the majority, if not all, of these individuals, and you will be able to pick out the recipients from Pembroke. So they are Sierra Levesque, Ranjith Matthew, Jody McDonald, Jamie McCrae, Blanche Moreau-Ducey, Ann McIntyre, Scott Murray, the lawyer from Pembroke, not the doctor. We had a discussion about that. Michael Nolan, the chief, Tom Orr, Loretta Rice, John Robertson, Evelyn St. Amour, Glenn Wallace, Joshua Wormke, Doug Antler, Rima Aristocrat, David Bennett, Jason Blaine, William Croshaw, Chris Daly, Kathy Haycock, Kevin Holm, Brian Hooper, Lori Hooper, their husband and wife, the dynamic duo as they were described, John Jeffrey, Joseph Kowalski, Rose LeClaire, Jason Lee, and David Lemke. Truly impressed by the presentation of these very worthwhile individuals. As the presentations were being made, there was a short description of why these individuals were nominated for these awards. They were all very remarkable individuals, and I can say wholeheartedly that the Pembroke individuals were very pleased to receive their medal, and in particular Joshua Wormke. And so, as always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Are there any notices of motion this evening? Seeing none. Councillor updates. Councillor Lafreniere.
So the Civic and Youth Awards Committee met for the first time last year to start planning this year's event, and we welcomed 2 new committee members last night, Faith Campbell and Lucas Palabuski, and they bring a lot of young energy to our tables and discussions, and we got a lot planned last night. So the nomination papers are going to be going out, I believe, next week to the high schools. There will be social media posts. So I encourage anyone out there who knows a worthy adult for the Civic Award or a youth 19 and under that attends a Pembroke High School. The criteria is a little more detailed than that, but nomination papers will be available in different areas. So anyone out there, just keep an eye out for it. And it's going to be an exciting award ceremony this year. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Giacono, and then the Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, thank you. Pembroke lost a very fine citizen recently in the passing of Terry Houghton. Terry was a West End boy. He grew up or lived on the corner of George and Bronx Street. And when he joined the Marine Corps, Canadian joining the Marine Corps, imagine, the American guys, his buddies, could never figure out what he was doing in Paris Island, South Carolina. And he said, well, I'm not really Canadian. He said, I grew up in the Bronx, well, Bronx streets, obviously, so they never got it. But Terry at times would come in when I had the privilege of serving as mayor and speak to me, and some of the things that happened to him as a young recruit as a Marine. And if you knew Terry, he was a joker. Joker from the beginning to the end. He could take a joke and give a joke. And he told me at one time when his drill sergeant, and I mean, if you've seen the movies with Forrest Gump and Hamburger Hill and the rest of them, you know, the sergeant berates all of the recruits and tries to break them. And I guess he'd never met anybody like Terry Houghton, because Terry said to me, he said at one time, he said the sergeant was on his case, and he said, you know what, I quit. And the sergeant said, you can't quit, you're in the Marine Corps. He said, no, I quit, and he walked away. Now, I don't know what convinced him to stay, maybe 2 weeks in the brig, or perhaps being court-martialed, but he stayed on. And Terry, in 1966, a young man of 20 years of age, went to Vietnam. I mean, he was 13,376 kilometers from home. Long way to go to defend something that, his American buddies that couldn't figure out why he was there. But there were 20,000 Canadians that served in Vietnam, and I didn't know that until Sunday when Jackie, his spouse, and his children and grandchildren held a service for him. There was probably 300-400 people there to recognize him. Terry was also a very valued member of our community. He served on the parking authority here for a number of years. He was an active member of the Legion. He volunteered with the Pembroke Lumber Kings, so he was involved in everything. And when he came to visit me, he always came to tell me what we were doing wrong. So I kind of appreciated that, but I say that with a grain of salt. Terry was truly involved in his community. Whereas 20,000 folks, Canadians served in Vietnam, we probably had 20,000 objectors, conscientious objectors coming to our country, and nobody seemed to stop them at the border. It seems rather unique that we're having a border problem now, but nobody seemed to stop them at the border, and whether they were here legally or not, I don't think any of them were deported. Many of them lived probably in our own area, Barry's Bay, Killaloe, and I think some of them still reside there. Of course, the United States President gave them a pardon at one time where they could return to their country without any repercussions or serving jail time, etc. But Terry obviously had his heart in the right place. And, unlike other people who may have not served because they had a bone spur, now I don't know who I'm referring to, but if you have a medical condition, you don't serve. Anyway, I say that tongue in cheek. If you look it up, you know who it is. Terry had the philosophy of, on his deathbed, he would say, if you haven't loved and you haven't traveled, you haven't lived. Terry loved wholeheartedly. And Pat, that poem you read tonight, that was a Terry Houghton poem. It's almost a tribute to him. I was thinking of him. He loved the community. He loved being part of the system, and he was there to make it better. So truly, to the family, Jackie and the family, and his familial grandson serves in the OPP here in Pembroke. So, the acorn doesn't fall too far from the tree. So, folks, I had a little picture of Terry there when he was in the Marine Corps, 20 years of age. And Terry also made the front page of Time magazine in 1971 while he was helping one of his fellow injured soldiers who was badly injured. It's a photograph taken by George Burroughs, a famous wartime photographer. He didn't pose for it, he just caught him on film. Terry related to me also that in his platoon of 43 individuals, he and possibly only 5 others survived. So he was meant to come home. We share in the loss, and to Jackie and the family, we know that he'll be remembered for a long time. Thank you for your indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Jagger. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Just a few items tonight. It would not go without notice that we acknowledge Gerald Tracy of the Eagleville Leader. He recently announced that it will cease publication the end of February 2026. And it's a long-time paper, 123 years old. So I want to send our thanks to Gerald and his family and the staff for all they've done for the area community. Lots of fundraising done by him and his family also for different causes. March break skating at PMC, there's a sponsored skate, so take advantage of that next week. As the mayor mentioned, Claudia and I, Claudia from the Parks and Rec Department, and Elijah worked at a table at the 50 Plus Active Living Center Active Living Fair on Saturday, and we were promoting the city, and on behalf of the mayor and I, we were promoting the community garden and also the transit. So we have a rack card that the council received for the transit. There's lots of positive comments about the transit, and the website's up and running, ortc.ca. It's not fully done yet. We don't have the price or the other information, but a lot of the information's there. And the treasurer and I will be at Algonquin College Open House a week from Saturday talking about the transit also. The community garden, the end of March will be, this will be the 4th year selling rain barrels. Our 4th year, so anybody wants to buy a rain barrel, well, you'll hear lots about it. But it's going to be the 5th or 6th year for the community garden. So that's a great success story. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Keel?
Your Worship, yesterday I was able to attend the OPP versus Fellow High School hockey game at the PMC. As a proud Fellows alumni, I can tell you that the kids beat the OPP. But it took them an overtime and a shootout to get it done. Donations to St. Joseph's Food Bank were collected, and they had multiple boxes at the entrance filled with goods. Today at lunch, I attended at Holy Trinity Anglican Church for their annual pancake lunch. It was great to see former councillor Gary Severin there, and many others. The church hall downstairs was packed with people, and it provided for certainly a great breakfast version of lunch. In terms of Festival Hall update, Your Worship, Sunday, March 16th at 2 p.m., a matinee show, the Ottawa Valley Kaylee Kitchen Party, so you can kick off St. Patrick's Day a day early. On Saturday, March 22nd is the Ottawa Valley Talent Showcase. This is a showcase put on by Kitchissippi Productions, and it's all local talent. They submit their videos and then get accepted to go to the live show. I think somebody around this table will be judging, but I don't know if that's been announced yet. So I'll leave that for somebody else to mention in the future. And Friday, March 28th, we have Magician Impossible coming to Festival Hall. So that will be a 7 p.m. show. That should be a great one for the whole family to attend. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. And if there's no other councillor updates, Councillor Friend, you have confirming bylaw.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel, that bylaw 2025-28 to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council March 4th, 2025 be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Moved by Councillor Fenye, seconded by Councillor Keel, that bylaw 2025-28 to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council March 4th, 2025 be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Those in favor? That is carried. Motion to adjourn. I have Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.